I honestly thought I was some kind of financial genius when I dropped $4,400 into a vending machine. Right up until the day the building manager literally tossed my stuff out on the street at 11:30 at night. These online gurus love to paint this rosy picture where a machine obediently prints money while you're fast asleep. But what they conveniently leave out is the bitter reality of jammed quarters, crumpled up dollar bills crashing your entire system, and completely worthless handshake deals. I'm solo, and with a startup cost anywhere from $1,650 to $6,600, the vending machine business really does sound like the ultimate dream. You just drop one in a packed gym or a hospital lobby, spend maybe 2 hours a week restocking it, and then kick back to check your profits on an app. But the gap between the numbers on a beautiful Excel spreadsheet and the harsh reality on the ground is a massive, gaping abyss. From a management standpoint, when you blindly put all your faith into automation and completely remove human oversight, you're not investing, you're gambling. Have you ever just stopped and asked yourself, if a machine can really print money that easily, why wouldn't people just keep it for themselves instead of hustling to sell it to you? Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and expose the hard truth behind these lifeless metal boxes. Almost everyone who jumps into this game fails right at the starting line. Why? Because they hold on to a beggar's mindset. They walk into the property manager's office, knock on the door, and timidly ask, "Hey, could you spare a little 9-square-foot corner in the hallway for me to put this machine?" From a B2B negotiation psychology standpoint, that is absolute suicide. A building owner or an HR director doesn't care at all about how much profit you're going to pocket from that machine. The only thing they care about is, what core problem are you solving for their organization? That's exactly when I decided to flip the script. Instead of begging for a spot to drop a junk food dispenser, I positioned myself as a professional on-site amenities partner. I'll never forget this one negotiation at a mid-sized tech company downtown. Instead of pitching the machine itself, I looked the HR director dead in the eye and said, "Let's do the math. Every afternoon, right around 3 p.m., when that blood sugar crash hits, your employees have to walk 3 blocks to the local convenience store just to grab a soda or a bag of chips. That little trip eats up at least 20 to 30 minutes of productivity per person. What if I set up an automated energy station right inside your break room? They get exactly what they need in under 2 minutes. They stay in the office to crush their deadlines, and you instantly get to offer a completely free employee perk." In that exact moment, the power dynamic completely shifted. I was no longer just some guy begging for a few square feet of floor space. I was someone delivering a productivity solution worth thousands of dollars. The harsh reality is, so many people get brutally rejected on their very first phone call simply because they're using the wrong pitch. If you're spinning your wheels right now and want to dive deeper into every single piece of the puzzle, from razor-sharp psychological negotiation scripts to how to read a building owner, all the way to a list of the absolute best wholesale suppliers, I've got a gift for you. I've dropped a completely free ebook, normally a $50 value, right down in the pinned comment. Go download it to arm yourself with a bulletproof mindset. And don't forget to hit subscribe so you don't miss the next video. Once the machine is plugged in and the lights turn on, most people breathe a sigh of relief and think the hard work is over. But this is exactly when the real secret of the industry reveals itself. You see, money doesn't just magically appear out of a lifeless piece of machinery. It's generated through the art of visual manipulation. In the US retail industry, we have an unbreakable mantra: eye level is buy level. From a neuroscience perspective, the human brain is hardwired to conserve as much energy as possible. When an office worker walks up to that machine at 3 p.m. with a fried brain and an empty stomach, they have absolutely zero interest in bending all the way down to the bottom row or getting on their tiptoes to reach the top. They're going to buy exactly what smacks them right in the face. That's exactly why the items that bring me the most massive profit margins, like a 16-ounce can of Red Bull priced at $4.25, are always sitting right there in the middle row, dead center at eye level, and right next to the credit card reader. But it gets even more fascinating, because that machine is basically a miniature psychology lab. I always use the Decoy Effect to set up the perfect pricing matrix. I will intentionally place a $2.15 bottle of purified water right next to that expensive can of Red Bull. Do you think the customer is going to choose the water just to save some cash? Sometimes, sure. But in reality, the presence of that cheaper bottle is just acting as a psychological anchor. It creates this subconscious comparison, making the customer's brain quickly justify the upgrade. Hey, it's only $2 more to get a hit of energy and crush this afternoon deadline. Totally worth it. And just like that, they casually swipe their card without a second thought. Think about it. Have you ever walked through the doors of a Target or a Walmart, absolutely convinced you were just going in for one bottle of water, but you ended up walking out with a basket full of snacks and random stuff? Our brains are actually super fragile and easily tricked by these kinds of spatial layouts. Have you ever realized you were being manipulated by how a store arranged its products to the point where you still remember it today? Drop your story down in the comments below, and let's dissect some of those fascinating psychological tricks together. Everything seemed a little too perfect, right up until a Saturday night. I was kicking back on the couch, enjoying my so-called passive income, when the management app on my phone suddenly started buzzing like crazy with error alerts. A crumpled up $1 bill had gotten jammed, completely paralyzing the bill validator. To make matters worse, some IT guy who was stuck working overtime, starving and completely frustrated, took his anger out by delivering a flying kick that totally dented the drop bin of the machine. I had to toss my dinner plate into the sink and rush out, driving 45 minutes through the dark to put out the fire. Ironically, waiting for me wasn't just my battered machine, but the furious, red-faced building manager. The commotion and a dozen complaints from his staff had completely drained whatever patience he had left. He coldly threatened to tear up our contract the very next morning, ready to kick what he called this annoying pile of metal trash right out of his building. After swallowing my pride, apologizing profusely, and trying to defuse the situation, I had to bite the bullet, call a tech, and eat a $435 repair bill, which completely wiped out an entire month's worth of hard-earned profits. Standing there in silence, in front of that dented machine in the middle of the night, under those flickering fluorescent lights, I realized a brutal truth. Passivity is actually the perfect psychological trap. Machines might automate the dispensing process, but business, at its core, is always a relationship between human beings. If you let yourself get lazy with maintenance and completely abandon the customer experience, risk turns into this invisible monster that will swallow your entire cash flow in a single night. Passive income is really just a mirage. The true name for it is leveraged income. You use your money to buy a tool, but it's your own sweat and responsibility that actually keeps that tool alive. A lot of young people easily fall into this brutal trap in the financial game the exact second they get their first taste of success. They make their first $550 in passive profit, and they immediately sprint to the mall to buy a new watch or upgrade their iPhone. That is the absolute fastest way to choke out your own cash flow. Instead of doing that, I chose to force myself into ironclad discipline. I scraped together every single penny of profit from that first machine, went all in to reinvest, and bought machine number 2, and then number 3. A single, standalone vending machine is really just going to spit out some boring spare change. But when you scale that up and multiply it into 10 machines scattered across office buildings all over the city, that's when you're building an actual, rock-solid business empire. Looking back at this entire journey, from that moment standing helpless in front of a dented machine in the middle of the night, all the way to owning a smoothly running fleet, I've learned one major lesson. Don't ever waste your youth chasing after a business that doesn't require any sweat. Because that mirage simply does not exist. That metal box doesn't just magically print money. It's your own hardcore discipline, your ability to say no to instant gratification that actually creates real wealth. Dropping $1,650 on a piece of hardware is incredibly cheap. But the price you pay to cultivate and sharpen the mindset of a true business owner, now that is what's truly expensive.